and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. In addition today, as always, we're on Birmingham Area Municipal Access. Both our TV channels, Comcast, Channel 15, and AT&T Channel 99. We're also on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, and in Birmingham and Bloomfield area, 88.1 WBFH, the Biff. Online, civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link or view us on the small player at the top right of our homepage, or on Facebook, facebook.com/civiccentertv15 or facebook.com/lakesfm. And as always, joining me from her home studio in the city of Keego Harbor is Ronnie Dahl.
Oh, what a beautiful Michigan day to kick off the unofficial start of summer, Tyler.
You know what? Let me just, I like to have a word with the month of May, okay? The saying goes, April showers, then May flowers. You got the flowers. Good for you. Congratulations. You fulfilled your duty to the general public. But you're also taking all of April's showers into the point where we're already done with that, okay? You're a thunder stealer. That's what you are, the month of May. You're a thunder stealer. And now you're giving us the thunder too. And it's been a beautiful week. The garage sale in Keego and Sylvan is underway, and now everyone's trying to sell their goods in the rain and the wind and the cold out there. Come on.
Oh yeah. Now we put ours on hold today. There is absolutely no way I am sitting outside today. So hopefully it does look like it's going to improve tomorrow. So let's hope it gets a little bit better. But I will say, even last night, you could feel that cold front come through. Oh, yeah. Taking you back to my weather days there, Tyler.
Yes.
But we had our beach volleyball league last night in Sylvan Lake. And oh my goodness, that wind coming off of the lake was just brutal. And you're playing, beach volleyball in the sand with no shoes. Couldn't even feel your toes. Although I will say I was using the wind as an excuse for why my serves weren't getting over the net. Yeah, no, it's a good. That's the only good that comes out of it, is that you can say, no, the wind took my serve away. Otherwise, it would have been fine. It would have gotten over the net just fine. Would have coasted right over it. If the wind came through and just whooshed it right out of the way. What are you gonna do? Okay, it's not. Technically it's a fault, but it's not my fault. It's the wind's fault. Exactly. And I will say, I will say too, we ended up winning. So what it is you play like 3 games, or if you win the first 2. And I was like, yeah, because we actually only had 5 players. The other team had 6, and we still ended up taking 2 of the 3. And but I will say the 3 guys totally, they were the team. The 2 chicks, and I hate to say this too, but we were the weaklings. I was so embarrassed. I told my husband we have to get a volleyball so I can start practicing.
You gotta get your ringers out there too, Ronnie. You gotta have your ringers on those community recreational sports teams as well. So you got the win though. That's all that really matters. Is you won despite the wind, and now you're a winner. So hopefully the weather does get better, so that these weekend, especially with a long weekend, everybody's been looking forward to this long weekend. They're going home. They're gonna have a good time with their friends and their families. Some people may be traveling. Things are starting to open back up. So having that cold come in right at this time, not good. Not exactly a good way to start off the weekend, but it does look like it's going to get better, which I'm happy about, because I plan to go to the Tigers game tomorrow with my dad and my brother and a couple other people. And the last thing I need is to have 2 negatives, one being the baseball and the other being the weather.
That is a good point, but it should be a great day though to go to the ballpark.
Yeah, it'll be nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Low 80, or wait, no, 60s tomorrow, right?
Still nice. I'll take 60s. At the very least, when I go home to my apartment, it's not going to be 85 degrees in there, and I got to just turn every fan directly into my face. I'll take it.
So with that is, Memorial Day weekend, but other than the Tigers game, do you have any big plans?
No, not really. Other than the Tigers game, I don't have any big plans so far. I will be in here on Monday morning, because Pine Lake Cemetery is once again doing their Memorial Day ceremony virtually, and so we'll be broadcasting that live. That begins at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, and then we'll replay that throughout the day. But other than that, I have no other plans on the 3-day weekend.
Excuse me. Sorry about that, Tyler. So of course I've switched over. I have iced coffee in the house. Now, hot coffee.
The switch has been made.
So I'm like, oh, I need something hot to drink. So I'm breaking out my lemon water. But I will say, when I was in Sylvan Lake last night, right there on the corner, they do have a nice display up to try to honor some of their veterans there in Sylvan Lake, because they're not having the Memorial Day parade this year. And of course, those decisions were made months ago, not knowing where we would be right now in the middle of the pandemic. But still, it's nice to see what they're doing there in Sylvan Lake for the community.
Yeah, and there are going to be some small ceremonies that will be going on throughout the local area on Memorial Day in the 4 communities. However, they're not really being fully open to the public. It's more just for families and veterans that are remembering the fallen. So things are still going on, although on a much smaller scale than usual. And we're looking forward to 2022, where we can get back out there and make up for 2 years of not being able to remember those that have given their lives in service of our country.
Okay, so Tyler, the weather's so crappy, even Dixie, the underdog, doesn't want to go out. So I took her out briefly this morning, but when my husband gets up, then they go for a long walk, and she gets breakfast, and even she's like, not going out there.
No, not feeling it today. Nobody is. No, look at it outside. It's terrible.
So you may hear Trixie a time or two. Let's go ahead and jump in to the headlines, though, because despite the weather being crappy outside, we do have a good show ahead for you on this Friday. And so I don't know if you saw this. Henry Ford Health Systems, right here locally, has become the leader in COVID-19 vaccine trials throughout the pandemic, and it's going to be continuing because the health system has opened enrollment for Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine study for children ages 6 months to 11 years old. So the Kid Cove study will evaluate the safety and efficacy of Moderna's vaccine for the group of young children. This is the same vaccine that was given emergency use authorization by the FDA for adults 18 and older. And Moderna did say that this week, it is most likely going to be applying for the authorization in June to be using the vaccine for 12 to 17-year-olds, because we know right now only Pfizer is approved for 12 to 17-year-olds. Participants in the study will receive 2 doses of the vaccine 28 days apart. They will each receive the actual vaccine, not placebos, but the doses are going to be at different strengths. Parents can sign up their kids for the study by going to henryford.com/Moderna Kid Cove on their Henry Ford website. Participation in the study will last about 14 months and require both in-person clinic visits and virtual visits. To date, more than 122 million doses of the Moderna vaccine have been administered here in the United States. So they are pushing forward to try to get this approved and to study for younger kids as well, because I think that's going to be such a key demographic, those young kids, so we can get them all back in school.
Yeah, and as it says in this article, this is going to be a study that will span about 14 months on the long end. So I wouldn't say that there shouldn't be much of an expectation that 6 months to 11-year-old children are going to be able to get vaccinated against COVID-19 anytime soon. But that being said, down the line, they will be able to get vaccinated, and hopefully at that point where they are able to get vaccinated and protect themselves further against COVID-19, will be well beyond that herd immunity point, and this will end up being one of those precautionary shots that you get throughout your childhood, throughout the childhood for the kids to protect them from this virus. So good news at the very least is that this is in motion, and they do have standards in place, and they are beginning to do these studies to try to be able to get the COVID-19 vaccine at that point to people of all ages across the country and the world.
Yeah, I believe Pfizer has already started their study on this age group as well, so they may be a little bit ahead of Moderna when it comes to this. Hey, lotteries and other incentives may work to get more people to encourage them to get the vaccine. Incentives for getting COVID-19 vaccines starting to feel like a dime a dozen. It started, of course, with free beer, a free donut. Well, now some of these incentives are getting pretty big. Free cruise, Super Bowl tickets, and of course, Ohio's big $1 million lottery as well. So during the last few weeks, businesses and states have announced giveaways to either get more shots in arms or reward those who already have. That included an announcement Thursday in which customers who receive or plan to receive a vaccine through CVS can enter a sweepstakes to win prizes from June 1st through July 10th. The hashtag One Step Closer sweepstakes is for those ages 18 and older. A spokesperson for the White House on the COVID-19 response team said that Ohio's governor unlocked a secret through the state's Vax-A-Million lottery. After Ohio announced its program, the state saw a 55% increase in its vaccination rate among adults ages 20 to 49. And I don't know if you saw it, Tyler, but one of the winners was a recent Michigan State University grad from Ohio. She won that $1 million.
Yeah, I did see that. I did see that article. I read that yesterday afternoon. I think one of our other local TV stations had tweeted it out, and I just happened to be scrolling through our social media to go through our interactions and saw that really nice story there in Ohio.
So the U.S. Treasury Department has issued new guidance on the programs, providing additional information on how federal funds in the American Rescue Plan can be used to try to pay for some of these vaccine incentive programs. And really with the guidance, they're encouraging states to use their creativity to draw attention to vaccines and get their states and the country back to normal as quickly as possible. And that includes some of these lottery programs. However, we do know that the governor has said here in the state of Michigan that the law doesn't allow for the lottery system, but it does appear as if they're trying to come up with something else to try to encourage more people to get vaccinated.
Yeah, they're trying to inspire more momentum for the vaccination process here in the state of Michigan, really across the country, as it has hit a plateau and been stuck at that plateau for several weeks, well over a month now at this point, where we saw earlier on in the pandemic when the vaccines were first coming out, there was a rush to get them. People needed to sign up for appointments. It was a very slow trickle to get vaccinations into people's arms. And then as vaccines became more widely available and getting those vaccine appointments became much more convenient for people, or walk-ins were available, it seems that that incentive has gone away. So enticing people to go out and get vaccinated so we can get to that 70% or higher threshold quicker is what a lot of these government entities are currently looking at, and that's definitely being looked at in the state of Michigan, although they're going to need to have some real creativity, as they can't quite go to the same lengths legally as Ohio can.
So anyone looking to possibly travel in the coming months, especially if we're talking international, the Homeland Security Secretary says the government is taking a very close look at the possibility of vaccine passports for travel into and out of the United States. So they're saying one of the guiding principles throughout the coronavirus pandemic has been the virtue of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and making sure that any passport that the U.S. does provide for vaccinations is accessible to everyone. Of course, the European Union, as well as some Asian governments and the airline industry, are scrambling to develop COVID-19 vaccine passports to try to help kickstart international travel. They're working on systems that would allow travelers to use mobile phone apps to prove they've been vaccinated, helping them avoid quarantine requirements at their destinations. And also, I would imagine that would include not having to get tested for COVID-19 if you're coming back into the United States. So I think this is going to be a part of our futures, especially maybe not so much if you're going state to state, but especially if you're going outside of the country.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of pushback against the idea of vaccine passports in the U.S., particularly for situations where you're going into public gathering spaces or certain shops, and really within the confines of the United States. That being said, in a lot of cases, international travel, a lot of other countries are requiring that people are vaccinated in order to enter their country, and so in that case, with that being the case, it's not exactly far-fetched to say that the U.S. may want to do something similar so that people in the U.S. can travel internationally relatively seamlessly if they are vaccinated. And on top of that, it's another incentive for people to get vaccinated themselves. And
of course, you can always find the latest headlines. Go to civiccentertv.com. click on coronavirus. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a quick break here on the show. And then when we come back, we'll get the interview started. Joining us next here, we'll be speaking with the doctor from the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders. That's next here on the Megacast.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Say thank you for taking time out of your Friday to be with us here on this edition of the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here at my home studios. Mr. Tyler Kieft holding things down for us back there in the studio. This has been such a trying time for so many people, not just worried about COVID, but also some of their other medical issues. And organizations and medical doctors have had to kind of scramble to try to figure out the best way to treat some of these people, but also to encourage people to continue with their treatment. We want to bring in Dr. Marty Belkin. He's with the Michigan Institute of Neurological Disorders. Great to have you with us, doctor. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So with that, how are things going over at your office right now? It's looking a lot better right now as we hopefully emerge from COVID-19. But if you could take us back a year ago, were patients hesitant to come in and get treatment?
Yeah, so when the pandemic and kind of the shutdown started, we had to shut down to some degree. So we really kind of moved quickly to more of a telehealth platform. So the majority of our patients we were seeing on a virtual platform. However, some of our treatments are still essential. So patients, we still had to keep our offices open. We still had to make sure that patients could come in. Certain therapies they needed included IV therapies. Some still had to get testing, including MRIs done, and get assessments. And some people you just need to see in person, and virtual just doesn't work. And so fortunately, we were able to set up protocols where we could safely get patients into our practice and keep everything spaced and keep everyone safe. And I'm happy to say that our staff did an amazing job because we were able to keep both our staff as well as patients safe throughout that. And then as things got better, we were able to open up and things are looking relatively normal for us now.
And so with that as well, we are hearing that maybe a silver lining that has come out of this pandemic is telehealth. More and more people and doctors are able to use it. Do you anticipate that that may be sticking around with your office?
Yes, I mean, I think there's, so we're obviously a neurology practice. And so again, many of our disorders, it's helpful to see people live, but there's many people, patients that we have that are stable on their therapies, whatever it may be, and seeing them in person isn't necessarily critical. And so, yeah, I do see telehealth staying in some way, shape, or form. Some of it's going to depend on how insurers, how they look at it going forward and reimbursement and the real world aspect of that. But no, I think telehealth is here to stay. How it's going to look going forward, I don't know that any of us, at least in our practice, know that yet, but we anticipate it's going to be a permanent part of our practice.
Yeah, it's that little insurance piece that really kind of is going to be the key factor when it comes to telehealth. We're talking with Dr. Marty Belkin. He's with the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders. And doctor, if you can tell us, what are some of the disorders that you treat there?
Yeah, so we treat, neurological disorders really encompass anything that involves the brain, spinal cord, nerves, and muscles. So on an outpatient basis in our clinic, common disorders that we see, certainly we see a lot of migraine and headache disorders, dementias, particularly Alzheimer's disease, multiple sclerosis and related disorders, a lot of movement disorders, most common being like Parkinson's disease. We see various neuromuscular disorders, muscular dystrophies, nerve disorders, neuropathies, and that's just to name a few. So it's pretty wide encompassing, but so we see a lot of different disorders.
I know the Michigan Institute has been around for more than 50 years, but I wondered too, over the past year, especially when we're treating some of our dementia patients, have you seen a decline in their health at a faster rate because of the pandemic and the isolation that's been associated with this?
We have. So we see that particularly those who were in nursing homes who really, they couldn't leave, and many were confined to their rooms for months on end early on. And so we did see that had a significant impact on their well-being. You saw more of a cognitive decline. You saw more mood disorders. You even saw more, just changes in their mental status, started hallucinating, seeing things just because there was no social interaction. So yes, I mean, it really had a detrimental effect on that patient population.
Yeah, I mean, we think we had a hard time with it. Yes. And so when you're already, suffering from some of these disorders, it can really take you down that path much quicker. And so with that, because we do know there are some family members that maybe are still uncomfortable with seeking treatment, what do you want them to know?
Well, coming into, I think, most medical facilities, I think medical facilities have done a great job of making sure it's safe for patients to access care. And so I don't think there should be much anxiety about coming into the facilities. Now, obviously now with a large percentage of our population getting vaccinated, that's really changed things. So, vaccinated people really, their risk is dramatically lowered or even negligible at this point. And then, for us as healthcare providers, we are vaccinated as well. And so I think now it's a whole different ballgame than it was a year from now. And so I think really the anxieties of coming in and getting medical care really should have gone by the wayside. And I think people need to realize that life has to go on and they have to get treatment and make sure they're getting the right care and taking care of themselves.
Do you anticipate that maybe you're going to see an increase of patients needing your services as we emerge out of the pandemic?
I would think so. I mean, fortunately, we've stayed busy, and the fact that we were able to stay open where others maybe the access wasn't quite as good, we were able to stay busy and make sure patients had access when they needed us. But yes, I anticipate that in the coming months, as things really become wide open, that we are going to get busier.
We're talking with Dr. Marty Belkin with us here on the Megacast. He's with the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders. And with that, Dr. too, I know that you also are a research facility. Can you tell us more about some of the research that you're conducting over there at the Institute? Yeah, so we have a large research staff, and for years, we've concentrated primarily on research in multiple sclerosis, and we've been extremely busy in that. We've been involved in many of the clinical trials that have led to breakthrough changes in terms of treatment, bringing new therapies to market. So we're thankfully in that respect on the cutting edge, but we now have expanded the research. We're now getting into Alzheimer's disorders research. And so for so long, there's really been essentially no treatment for that patient population. And the research, thankfully, has exploded. And there's some potential therapies coming on the horizon that truly may be meaningful to patients. It maybe make much more of a difference than anything we've had, essentially true disease-modifying therapies. And so we're really looking forward to hopefully being able to offer patients truly meaningful therapies. But from a research standpoint, at least we can offer them an opportunity to get involved in clinical trials and access therapies, whether they pan out to be beneficial or not. They can access therapies that may not be available for still several years to come. So that's one area where we've expanded our research. And then we have a large center in terms of headache and facial pain. And so, again, a huge patient population who suffer daily. And so we're getting involved in clinical research in that realm as well in terms of headache and facial pain disorders. You know, it seems to me too, when we talk about people who suffer from migraines, I think for those of us that know people that have gone through this, it really is, can sideline them, you know, for not just a day, but several days as well because of the pain. So when you're looking at that, when should someone know, when is the time to seek out, you know, additional medical you know, assistance from your organization versus going to the primary care doctor, or, hey, I could take a couple aspirin and this will go away?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of migraine, I mean, it's so prevalent. There's so many people that suffer from migraine specifically, and even other headache disorders. And so the treatments, though, we really have some amazing treatments now. And so our expectation is that patients with migraine shouldn't have to suffer nearly as much. I can't say that we can take them away completely, but we can make them where they are much more manageable. They will no longer, hopefully, make people have to miss, you know, numerous days of work and reduce productivity. And so, so if you don't think that if you're still suffering with numerous headaches or migraines per day or per week, then you should seek out to make sure you're getting the most up-to-date care. And it's not even just medication. It's really a multidisciplinary approach. It could be supplements, it could be therapy, it could be, you know, physical therapy, it could be sometimes certain procedures. So it's not always even taking medications. And so it's really this holistic multidisciplinary approach. And so if you just don't think that you're achieving your goals in terms of your treatment, then you should seek out care. And we have our headache and facial pain center is headed up by Dr. Lauren, who's just amazing and fellowship trained in that field. And so, you know, she's helped so many people beyond what they've had before.
We're talking with Dr. Marty Belkin here on the Megacast. He's with the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders. And doctor, if someone is interested in maybe trying to find out more information or to try to seek assistance with some of those clinical trials, how can they do that?
Well, so one, we have our website, which is mindonline.com. So that's one avenue. They can certainly always call our office directly, and they can be directed to the appropriate person depending on what their questions or needs are. And so that's our phone number, which is 248-553-0010. And that's gets them in contact with our main office.
So with that too, doctor, can I ask you, we are hearing so much more about clinical trials, especially with so many people with COVID-19 and trying to get participants. When you're conducting a clinical trial, what type of patient are you looking for to take part in that trial?
Well, so obviously clinical trials would be for a specific disorder, you know, so it depends on what that diagnosis is. And then trials are designed so there's specific inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria. So there's specific guidelines on who can participate in the trial depending on age, disease state, where they are in that disorder. It could be, you know, depending on the disorder, frequency of events or problems. And then there's exclusion criteria, certain things that if you have this or that, you unfortunately cannot participate. And so it's really strict guidelines that are set by the trial that really tell us who can be in it, who can't. But, you know, if patients are interested, you can easily be screened over the telephone, a brief screening. And if there's nothing that jumps out as being exclusionary, then we bring people in and start the process to see if they can qualify for a clinical study.
Dr. Marty Belkin with the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders. Doctor, anything else maybe I didn't ask that you want to add? Because I know you are doing so much work over there at the Institute.
We are. I mean, we're thankfully very busy. We have some amazing practitioners here, but it's not just about the physicians. I mean, this is really a customer service field, and we have to take good care of people. And so it's really our entire staff, from, people who answer the phones to the front desk, to the medical assistants, to all our technicians from MRI to electrodiagnostics and many others, research staff. And so and nurses. So everyone is involved in taking their patient. I think everyone is really cares. And so I think the patient experience from the second they call to the second they, see the physician and leave is really hopefully a great experience. And it's all about servicing that patient. And I just want to kind of give a shout out to our entire staff, who I think do an amazing job.
It's been a tough year for everyone. And can I ask too, does a patient need to be referred by their primary care doctor?
Some of that's insurance-based, so some people do need to be based on insurance if they need actual referrals, but otherwise, no. I mean, depending if the insurance doesn't require that, they can just call and make an appointment.
So if I can just quickly ask you too, I know that you were talking about some of the research. When it comes to, Alzheimer's, people hear research and they're expecting or they're hoping for help now, but some of this research takes years.
It does. And so it does. I mean, many clinical trials, go on for 2 to 3 years before they really get the data to see if it's really even effective or not. And then it has to go before the FDA, potentially get approved and really come to market. So it takes years. And that's, and then that's not to talk about the years before in early stage research that just got it to the point where it can come to the clinic. And so it takes many, many years. And when you mentioned Alzheimer's, for example, I mean, it's, there's been unfortunately so many failed trials that just haven't panned out, but I think we're finally getting closer. And so, and I think the research is really going to, in the coming years, explode. And so, although that doesn't always help people that are suffering today, but sometimes by getting involved in trials, even if you're not helping yourself as much as you can, I mean, some people know that they're going to help other people coming down the road. And so that's obviously very important.
Yeah, I remember, when my stepfather was going through a cancer and, the treatment wasn't working any longer, he was like, sign me up for whichever clinical trials I can be of assistance because of just that. He was like, let me help someone else.
Correct. Yeah, exactly right.
So Dr. Marty Belkin with us here on the Megacast from the Michigan Institute for Neurological Disorders. Great to have you with us. Anything maybe I didn't touch on that you want to add before we say goodbye and let you start your holiday weekend?
Yes, no, I just appreciate the opportunity. So thank you very much.
The locations, again, I know that you have one here locally, but you have 2 or 3 different locations?
We do. So yes. So thanks for pointing that out. So we have our main facilities in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and we have a satellite clinic in Dearborn Heights. We currently have one in Madison Heights. However, that is going to be closing because we're opening a much larger facility in Roseville. That's going to really be a full service facility. So we're really excited about that. And then we're hoping to open more facilities in other areas so we can really service patients.
That's great. When do you anticipate the Roseville facility to be open?
It is opening the first week of August.
Wow. So you're doing that in the middle of a pandemic.
Yep. We got that going. So all good things.
Well, that is great to hear. We so appreciate your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We'll take a quick break here on the Megacast. Still a lot to get to and the remainder hour and a half of the Oakland County Megacast.
Finally, I just got my COVID-19 vaccine.
I registered with my local health department and they called me.
I got mine at the pharmacy, and my neighbor got hers from the hospital.
I'm not a techie person, so I called the COVID hotline, and they helped me schedule an appointment.
Get vaccinated with the first vaccine you can. Protect us all.
Learn more at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries. But you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping. Taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too. Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and experiences connect through conversation, and it feels good.
This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too. Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together. Start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/one small step. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for taking time out of this rainy, chilly, cold Friday morning to be with us here on the Megacast. It's cold, too cold to be outside, so it's a great day to be indoors and checking out the Megacast. As a reminder, you can always catch us Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. Civic Center TV, Birmingham area municipal access. You can also tune us in Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T. Or if you're out driving around, you can listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And then today we are also live streaming today's edition of the Megacast on our Facebook page. But we will be off Monday. No Megacast on Monday, Tyler.
Yes, no Megacast on Monday. We will have live programming for you at 10 a.m. on Monday, however. Pine Lake Cemetery over in West Bloomfield, they do a Memorial Day service every year. Normally, it is at the Pine Lake Cemetery itself, but much like last year, this year's ceremony will be virtual. That will be live 10 o'clock on Monday morning, and then we'll replay that throughout the afternoon as well.
You know, Tyler, I don't know if you've ever seen, come across someone's resume and you look at your life and you're like, boy, what have I been doing with my life? I am wasting my time.
So many people.
Well, I will say our next guest really embraces life and lives it to its fullest. We're happy to bring out Melissa DiVietri. She's a social media consultant, but also a founder of Techno. But that's just the beginning. You're an artist, you're an entrepreneur. Great to have you with us here on the show.
Thank you so much. Yes, it is a cold, rainy day in the D, so I hope I can shine for everyone to hear more about my story. I'm blessed to be here today.
Oh, well, we're so great to have you as well. And what has it been like for you as an entrepreneur over this past year?
You know, throughout the pandemic, it really taught me how to grow up quickly, to be able to be self-reliant and be independent. I actually had to move from Detroit to Miami to redevelop my business model because we host in-person events. I manage an all-lady agency called Techno, and we would host techno events and art parties. But with the pandemic, things had to close down and we had to restructure ourselves. So for the last 8 months, I've been orchestrating an art festival in Miami for Detroit. And this past weekend, we unfolded it. So it was kind of like if you focus on something, especially during the time where everyone has to stay at home, it really makes you think creatively. So now I've enhanced my communication skills so that I can kind of embrace all of these different things to make systems work.
So with that, Melissa, are you in Miami now?
No, I'm actually visiting my family. I fly to Miami on Tuesday, just a little bit of downtime. But yeah, I came in. It's so funny. My team's like, you came in, dropped a banger in Detroit, and then you're heading back. I have an art gallery in Wynwood, so it's been closed since I've been gone, and I'm really missing it.
And so with that too, then, but how are you able to keep juggling so many projects and keep revenue flowing when some of your main ones are completely shut down right now?
Yeah, it's been tough. I've had to learn how to trust other people to manage my things. I've had to be like just let faith guide me, and it's hard to see other people having power over things that I've worked really hard. So I'm just like giving responsibilities to the different ladies that work for the agency and just like kind of letting them take it. There are times where I'm not sleeping and I'm just like super passionate, but it's like the world is changing all the time. So you have to adapt fast, and today is going to be different from tomorrow.
But do you think your background as an entrepreneur has also helped you navigate COVID-19 a little bit easier than some other people that are maybe, tied to those routines, that 9 to 5 of going to work and doing A, B, C, D, and E?
Yeah, I used to work a schedule like that when I worked in advertising, like automotive clients. And when I went to university for engineering, I realized like I could be an entrepreneur. I've got the skills. It takes a lot of risks, but with those risks comes the rewards. Like I financially put myself at a huge risk to host these events, and I'm not quite sure what relationships are now with, things are always changing in directions that we have to keep up. So we're falling forward with challenges. That's why we work independently, because it's not a 9 to 5. Sometimes it's a 9 to 9 or a 9 to midnight. Depends on what the weekend looks like.
So with that too, when we're talking about some of these events and putting that financial risk out there, but yet at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to be happening because you're trying to plan several months out. And some of these COVID-19 restrictions have changed almost weekly.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you can relate to how I'm feeling, because the last 9 months, we've had to hide this event under the radar. We weren't allowed to talk about it on social media. Every time we talk about it, asking for sponsorships, the city would call us and say, you're going to jeopardize the event. You have to take that down. Well, how can we talk about an event that we're planning and raise sponsorships if we can't even facilitate that? So we went to the phones and we started calling and getting micro grants and all that. But that's because we think differently. We're creatives. So we don't do the normal playbook. We exhaust all options, social media, email, calling, and we raise the fundings ourselves. So 2 weeks before the event on May 5th, the CDC and the special permits are finally saying, hey, we've reached the vaccination point. I don't know the actual terms, but you can now talk about your event online. So 2 weeks to showtime. We're falling forward again.
So I have to ask you, you really are like a beacon, a bright light. You can just tell it's in your spirit. It's a part of who you are. But you're doing all of this, and I did catch part of your TED Talks in Detroit. But you're also doing this, and you just live life, and you don't let situations get you down or stop you. And so at this point, I guess I want to ask you, do you want to talk about your rare disease or no?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's special. I'm walking into my disability suit. The pandemic made me sort of grow more into it because the resources were exhausted. But I was born with a condition called sacral genesis. And so in this moment, I'm using forearm crutches to move full time. But half of my life I spent in a wheelchair with body braces. And when I became 26, I realized I'm going to be on all these heavy drugs to control pain. I'm going to have to learn how to control this mindset by myself. So I moved to Indonesia for a year, completely off the grid, became holistic in Bali. And then I came back to the States, started the agency, and now we're here today. It's just one of those, like, I knew my mind would be strong enough because my situation, you have to be strong in this. So that's why I think I'm like a very good leader and a good boss, because I always say to myself, there's nothing that can't be done to me that hasn't already been done to me. Like, I'm exhausting my body all day long, my shoulders, my arms, my everything. And then I keep saying, why do I keep getting up? Why do I keep getting up? I get up and I take the punches and I fall, but then I get back up again because I got a whole team behind me that's relying on me to be there for them. They like kind of look at me as their energy. Like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. It's one of those like kind of sort of excuses, like you have everything and I have like limited mobility. I can barely move. And I'm working in the nightclub industry where it's not accessible. So one of my missions as a disability advocate is to make events and art festivals and electronic festivals like for people like myself with wheelchairs and prosthetics. Because 9 out of 10 times before I even show up to my event, whether it's Miami or Detroit, elevators aren't working, the bathrooms are closed for accessibility. I'm kind of making people feel bad in a way that changes it. Like, what is wrong with you? This should be open. Like, but oh, we didn't know you were coming. I shouldn't have to tell you I'm coming. Things like that.
We're talking with Melissa DiVietri. She's a social media consultant and the founder of Techno. And you're using your disability as a voice for so many other people. What has been the response from the community? Because you also blog about your rare disease.
Yeah, the response from the community has been almost like a weird feeling, because people will see me on the news and then they'll show up at the event with flowers. And then others will send me these like long messages, like, this whole weekend I came down to meet you and everything I knew would happen. It like started something passionate about them. Like one of the artists is like, I sold my painting. Another one said, this is the first time I've ever done an art festival. Another person said, well, I booked a show. So every person that has come to me has given me some special story about like me doing it and being confident, gave them the confidence to like do that thing. Like so many people have been sleeping this year and they said that I was like a firecracker.
That is so true. I had a friend once and he grew up, his mother was blind, and we would see him as an overachiever. And he said, well, when you're living with someone with a disability, you have no excuse. Because if they didn't use it as an excuse to stop them in life, how can you not live life to the fullest as well? So sometimes you look at your rare disease as kind of a gift?
Yeah, it's sort of a blessing and a curse, right? Like I can feel everyone watching me all the time, and it gives me sometimes anxiety because I'm already trying to process my own thoughts, and I can't go anywhere without receiving attention that I don't want. But I'm realizing that they're just curious and I need to educate them. But it just takes that balance of separating those emotions with being like you're going to be different forever. So you're going to either have to like enjoy it and love it and use it, or feel sorry for yourself. So every day I wake up and I listen to motivational podcasts and I write a list, and then I, take care of my hands holistically. And then I start my day like ready to go.
Who's your favorite podcaster?
I like the voice of Denzel Washington. It's more or less I like the way that people kind of like tell me how to do the thing, and he's just got that tough attitude.
I always start off with the Daily Boost.
Okay.
It's like a quick 8-9 minute story, and he does a good job, I think, of trying to make you bring it back to your life, if that makes sense. So again,
favorite of mine, and of course Tony Robbins. Like I just put on like a cycle and it repeats, and then it starts with leadership. So I let that kind of go through me, and then I get into my chats with the teams, and it just trickles like a long tail effect.
So Melissa, if I can ask you, as someone who had to move to Miami throughout the pandemic, what's it been like for you to see the different response from our state leaders and how, things have been operating in the two different states? Because Florida is so different from Michigan.
It's been twilight because I'm selling VIP tables in Miami for events that are like 5, 6, 7 in the morning, and it's like normal behavior. And then people are together and there's no mask necessary. But then when I came back to Michigan and I sat down and didn't have my mask on, and a woman like yelled at me across the restaurant, and I was like, well, you could have been nice about it. And then she's like, please. And so it's just, I try not to like say anything. I just keep it on because I feel like it kind of avoids extra confrontation, because Florida that was the move. Like, you need to move to Florida because you have to keep your business in motion. I didn't want to shut down like everybody else and collect unemployment. That wouldn't work for me. I have 6 ladies that work for me, and they all have families and moms and things going on. They depend on me. So I recycled what I knew, moved to Miami, did multiple things. And now I've been more successful in my career in this last year than I've ever had because I had to focus. The pandemic made me kind of grow up in a way.
How do you maintain that self-discipline to complete that project and see it through?
That's very hard. I look outside my window and like when I'm in Miami and I say, what do you have to complain about? That's what I tell myself. You have beautiful weather. You have a really nice view. You have ways to get around. Like, what do you have to complain about? So it's an everyday conversation that I say to myself, but I like to wake up before everybody else. So I like to be up at like 5, 6 in the morning, maybe earlier, because I feel like if I'm the first one up, then maybe it'll be my happiness that makes other people kind of like, oh, I got to do that thing. It's just more or less like a internal agenda.
Melissa DiVietri with us here on the Megacast. She's the social media consultant and the founder for Techno. And with that, Melissa, while Florida is still rocking and rolling and partying, Michigan, things are starting to ease up. People are more comfortable and they're expecting 2021 is going to be a crazy year. Do you have any events coming up here in Michigan?
So I'm planning on doing perhaps a festival at the end of September near Belle Isle. And then in between those points, opening art galleries inside breweries. So I have a lot of art and there's a bunch of walls in Detroit. So I want to be able to keep my energy and my creative vision as a thought leader from Detroit. Like, even though I'm not here presently, I want you to still know my story and feel like you are with me.
You know, and with that too, like, we do know you're a social media consultant. So social media is not new for you, but for so many businesses over the past year, they've had to really embrace social media. What advice would you give them as we start to come out of the pandemic?
I would say many of my accounts have been removed from censorship. So there is a lot of things that are going on in social media as far as like algorithms. Be authentic as possible. That is the only way to really reach the people that you want, is to be authentic. Don't follow the trends, you know, run ads properly, because that's how you get that real consumer or person that you know you can trust and repeat. And like, try different things. Like, I've never been a TikTok person, but it seems to be the way for small businesses to make a huge dent. So even though I don't like doing it, I'm kind of like teaching myself to do it because it will make me successful.
We all grow when we force ourselves to learn new things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. And then I was just saying this to a person that I did a tour with for an event yesterday, and he's like, how do you keep up with all of the AI and the machine learning? I'm like, it's just templates and processes and having like spreadsheets of like certain things. Like, you don't want to spend all day in a conversation with someone, like 50 messages. Give them a bulk of information, send them to an FAQ, give them an email, but you have to divide your time. Like, because social media will consume you. I have 200,000 followers and my blog has over 80,000 email subscribers. I started that in 2005 and it's all organic. So it can happen as long as you're authentic.
That is such good advice. Melissa DiVietri with us here on the Megacast. She is a social media consultant, but also a founder of Techno. You're also like a blogger, an artist. You do live shows. And if I can ask you, Melissa, give us a little bit of an inside story, because as someone who does a lot of these after-hour shows and events, I'm sure you have some stories to tell. Just give us one.
Yeah, it's funny when celebrities will come to my events, because I'll just like kind of pretend like I don't know them. I'll be like, I need your ID. And I like take them through like a normal people process. And then when they're done, I'm like, oh, I thought that was you. Like, I just love making people laugh, because they're just like, oh, she didn't recognize. So it's moments like that makes your job like kind of fun.
And too, you know, the interesting thing is to see people's real names.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, and I'm like, is this really you? And then it's just cute. Like, for example, that was Stacy Pullen. He came to my party last weekend. He's a Detroiter. He just laughed so hard. He's like, I saw you in Miami 2 weeks ago. I was like, yeah. It's like I when Detroit comes to Miami, I just go just to say, hey, anything you need, here's my number. Call me. Because you want to have people in these big cities.
If I can ask you too, what's it been like for you to say that you're from Detroit? Because we do know the narrative is shaping around the Motor City. It used to be, I'm from Detroit. Oh, I'm sorry. Now the response is typically, I hear great things about Detroit. What's it been like for you?
So a lot of the people I've met in Miami, they're not from the States, they're from around the world. So when I say I'm a Detroiter, and they'll say stuff like, oh, 8 Mile, oh, Eminem, or they'll just have one thing that they know. And it's just really funny perspective on how the world views Detroit. But I've been living in Capitol Park for the last 8 years, splitting my time to Medellin, Colombia. So I watched the Renaissance and the rebirth happen, and it just felt really good. That's kind of how I got started playing music, was in the park there, and then that folded into this DJ world.
Wow, you live such a fascinating life.
I like to live fast because I have 7 siblings. I've been through the ringer with all of my condition and just traveling, that if today's going to be that day, I want it to be the right reasons that it's that day. You only get so much time, and there's still so much that I want to do.
Well, Melissa, with that, you're also such an inspiration. If people want to follow you, what is your social media? How can they find out more about your work and try to keep up with some of the projects you're doing, so when you do come back and do some cool things back here in Michigan, we can take part?
Yeah, I guess I would say the best way to find me is my first and last name, melissadivietri.com. If you want to see what we're doing in the music world, the agency is DI Techno, so ditechno.live. And that's the best way to see where I'm at in the world, see how you can get involved. We have a lot of artists that contact us, and there's work to do. There's murals, there's things. I want people to see me as a solution maker.
That is so great. And you know what? You're also such a great representative for the city of Detroit. So we're lucky to have you. And I wonder, are they bringing back the big Techno festival? Usually, a lot of people don't realize that techno music was born here in the Motor City.
Absolutely. And that's, to me, I think that was heaven sent, that I'm in the same city that my whole business is formed on. That was the reasoning for my event last weekend, was to lead up to movement. So we had 4,100 check-ins on Eventbrite for my 2-day techno and art festival at Beacon Park. It was amazing. And that doesn't even count the people at the park or the people at the restaurant. That's actual check-ins over 2 days. And it was supposed to lead up into movement. I used to work for the team of organizers there for a few years as a street team leader. I wanted to share the audience, but they are now having a thing called micro movement. So it's just in 3 different locations, like a record store and a few other things. With the pandemic and the regulations loosening up recently, like we've been saying, we've been planning this entire event under the radar for 9 months, knowing we were still going to have it. There's no options.
And that's a big event and a hard event to keep under the radar. So you did a great job.
I know. I'm still feeling like we did that. We won the Spirit of Detroit Award for our efforts. So the city council was like, you guys are really lighting the art community. And so many people have not been out in a year that it was that first form of release. And it was raining and it was gorgeous. It was just parents were there and children were there, dogs. I've never seen anything like that.
Wow. Keep inspiring people and keep living life. Like I said, you're definitely a bright light. So we so appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Melissa DiVietri with us here on the Megacast. We'll take a quick break here on the show. When we come back, still a lot to get to in the next hour. We'll be talking beer. Coming up next here on the Megacast.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development, 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. Wearing a mask is more than protection. It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful. Because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
In times like these, we have to believe in each other.
And we believe that you'll do the right thing.
When it comes to stopping the spread of COVID.
Follow the 3 W's.
Wear a mask.
Wash your hands. Watch your distance.
And when it's your turn to get the vaccine, take your shot.
It all comes down to the golden rule.
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
We're so close, Michigan.
We can do this together.
Listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in my home studios. For the last day, Tyler will be joining you back in the building starting next week.
Yeah, excited to have you back in the studio, and first time in well over a month that we've had both of us here in the studios for our show, and kicking off the month of June and getting right back into things a little bit more normally as everything else starts to trend that way as well.
So I was planning on doing the last show from my backyard.
Yes.
Because we have such a nice backyard, all the birds and the deer and the squirrels. And then we got this beautiful weather. So instead I'm doing it from inside in my pajamas.
That sounds like a lot more fun than even being in the studio. So, you know what? Take the win as you get it, Ron. Right.
Well, let's hope the weather gets a little bit nicer because, as we know, Memorial Day weekend here in the state of Michigan is a huge weekend for so many of our restaurants and our breweries, because it is the unofficial start to the summertime here in Michigan, and there is no better place than Michigan in the summer. And but what's going to be looking like this year, coming out of this pandemic, we want to go ahead and bring in Jenelle Jagmin. She's the director for the Michigan Craft Beverage Council. Jenelle, it's been a while since we talked to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was just trying to think, when was the last time? Was it last fall?
It's been a few months. It's been a few months, and hopefully things are looking better for so many of those in the craft beverage industry.
Yeah, I would say, everybody's really optimistic. Everybody is ready and looking forward to what the summer is going to bring. I'm sure that you've heard from other guests where, there's a little bit of concern around labor, of course, in the state. And so we just want to make sure that we're all staffed up when we're ready to welcome Michiganders back in at, fuller capacities and that sort of thing. But yeah, the craft beverage industry is looking positive. The wineries and some of our other agritourism businesses, the cideries and distilleries and the breweries in rural areas have actually had a really positive experience welcoming people into outdoor setting. Did you know, Ronnie, that people in Michigan like sampling beverages outdoors?
No.
We have determined that is very much a thing in Michigan, and so we're going to kind of keep going with that.
And two, I wonder, because with the border still closed with Canada, a lot of people here in the Metro Detroit area will go across the border to Canada to go to the vineyards there and kind of do that tour. Now that that's closed, do you anticipate that maybe some of Michigan's vineyards are going to be busier because they'll get that traffic instead?
Yeah, it's possible. And I mean, last year was for a lot of wineries, we saw some of the busiest years that they've seen in many years. And not only the visitors from the Detroit area, but also people that have either second homes or tend to vacation in other parts of Michigan. We found that they just stayed, they stayed longer. And so the traffic at Michigan wineries was pretty fantastic last year. I have been to that area though in Canada that you're talking about. They do a nice job too, but we definitely welcome our Michiganders to just stay put and stay at the Michigan vineyards this year.
Yeah, I think I just saw something, it came across Facebook where they were going to do like a walking wine tour, through various vineyards. And I'm like, now that is a walking tour I could get down with.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, that's one thing that, between Michigan's natural resources and the parks and everything else, that I think is a trend that we're going to see even more and more. So there are a few different winery groupings that have kind of banded together and created these trails in between wineries that you can do fat tire bike racing through there. You can take your hiking in the wintertime. There's snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. So I mean, it's a pretty fun trip to take.
So with that, again, we're joined by Jenelle Jagmin here on the Megacast. She's the director for the Michigan Craft Beverage Council. And with that, do you anticipate this summer is going to be insanely busy? Because last year, we still have restrictions. They were eased to a degree, but this year by July 1st, we should be back to somewhat normal.
Yeah, we expect it'll be a busy year. And, even though last year for the rural businesses, it was a positive one, you're right, there were still restrictions. And so we expect that we will retain those customers, the new customers that we found last year, but also we should expect a much better year this year for our more urban businesses. So the breweries and the brew pubs that you'll find in the downtown areas, we're going to very much expect to see a better year there, and definitely looking forward to welcoming our friends and family back into those brew pubs and breweries.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, large scale events. We didn't have the weddings, we didn't have, the ball games, the big concerts, and you add up all of those events, and that's a lot of additional revenue for so many of these craft beverage makers, because I do feel like we're starting to get more specialized in trying to market the craft beverages that are made here within our state.
Yeah, and also, think about how many of those businesses have event spaces or invested in event spaces just a few years prior to this pandemic happening. And so it'll be really nice for those businesses that do have those type of event spaces to be able to utilize them in upcoming months and years.
So last year around this time, I think it was, the governor had signed the law allowing for businesses to have carry-out beverages, cocktails to go. Is that going to continue?
As far as I know, that seems to be the case right now. That's going to be up to, obviously, the legislators, Michigan Liquor Control Commission, the governor. But, there are a lot of things that the Michigan Liquor Control Commission did last year to help craft beverages, in the way that they could. And so, some of that was, permitting acreage on wineries to be used for consumption and sampling on that premise. You've got the new legislation that was just passed that helps our craft distillers. So, there are definitely things that, the craft distillers pivoted like crazy last year. They stepped up to make hand sanitizers for first responders and people in the community, hospitals, police stations. But, we all pivoted. We all moved on a dime and did what we could. And so I think that, the legislation and the Liquor Control Commission did the same thing. And we're all trying to do our best to help these businesses succeed and create jobs and keep moving forward.
Yeah, you get a little bit concerned that as we start to get back to normal and these restrictions are lifted, people are forgetting that so many of the industries are still struggling. You know, just because the restrictions are being lifted doesn't mean it's back to normal, and we have to continue to support them. I'm with you. One thing I'm excited to hopefully see kind of sticks around are some of those social districts that were created, because they've been very popular. And, you know, it's nice to be able to go to an area and walk around, explore the various restaurants, the shops, and mingle more. And so I hope those stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, I wanted to kind of touch on a point you went toward at the beginning of that statement, which was, you know, when we encourage consumers to come to these businesses, and it still isn't back to normal. Most of our patrons are just fantastic and are very gracious to the businesses, but we're always asking, please, everybody stay patient. When you're greeted at the door, just to understand what the business is asking out of you, and we're still all in this together. So when you talk to that host at the host stand and there you might have to wait a couple extra minutes, we just ask that you stay patient, because we're all doing the best we can.
Yeah, and as you had mentioned, I think really the big thing going into the summer is the shortage of employees, which is adding to the wait times. And just be nice, be patient, and understand, you know, because you are starting to see the signs everywhere. You know, please be patient. We apologize. You know, we're short-staffed right now.
Yeah. Hey, or grab an application, right?
Exactly. If you want to complain, we'll fit you in. Even one shift a week will help out with that. And, you know, with that too, Jenelle, can I ask you, how is the supply chain looking right now?
Well, you know, I mean, everything seems like it's okay. I'm always, because my program is in the Department of Agriculture, the supply chain I'm always most interested in following is making sure that we have those agricultural inputs. And, you know, we did have some kind of weird cold spell weather like we're having today, with a little bit of frost, you know, a couple month and a half ago. But it seems like we're going to be okay. So the grapes seem like they're fine. It's still a little bit too early, but apples, you know, are looking good. So the hops, of course, are looking good. The small grains are looking good. So from the agricultural input end of the supply chain, we're very hopeful and positive. And that's just one thing about Michigan that makes us so unique and so awesome, that our craft beverage culture is so closely linked to these agricultural inputs and the farms in Michigan that make this possible. So that's probably one of my favorite things about this industry, actually.
So with that as well, when we're talking about the farms, it is so vital for the farmers to be able to harvest, you know, their crops within a certain window. What's that going to look like this year if they're not able to get enough employees?
You know, that's hard to tell, and it's hard to look that far in advance as well. You know, to be honest with you, there are definitely labor shortages when we're talking about harvest. But to be honest with you, one of the issues that we look at, especially with something like grapes into the fall harvest, is rain. You know, and so rain and kind of like gross fall weather. Like, we like that sun. We like dry, sunny weather in through the fall. To help with making sure that those grapes and apples and everything else that we're harvesting are just kept, you know, in good condition until they go in for processing. And of course, that's also great for our tourism industry to make sure that our fall season is good.
I think it's also a great experience for someone that's interested in the wine industry to go up for a summer or for a season and help harvest some of the grapes, because then you get the full picture of the wine industry starting from the vine.
Yeah, and a lot of wineries do offer those volunteer experiences where you can come and help pick grapes.
So with that, again, we're talking with Jenelle Jagmin. She's the director for the Michigan Craft Beverage Council. Jenelle, just another minute or two here with you on the Megacast. Anything else that I'm kind of missing here that you want to talk about?
I really am very grateful that you give us this opportunity to share the news for the craft beverage industry. Right now it's May, just a short couple days longer, but it is Michigan Wine Month. May is Michigan Wine Month. And then we also are going to be looking forward to July as Craft Beer Month. So this is a really good opportunity to kind of stay up to date with, in different events, extended hours, special things happening at the wineries and the breweries all summer long. And then, of course, the craft distillers are doing great. That whole scene is just blowing up. The craft distillers in Michigan are fantastic. And then the hard cider producers, which are some of my favorite to visit as well. So just keep us in mind and plan your visits to the craft beverage businesses this year.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here for just a second. If someone was going to visit one winery, which one should they go to?
Oh my gosh, you can't make me say that. You cannot, I cannot. I'll tell you what, if your guests on this show have a question and they say, I'm going to a certain region because each region in the state has really awesome businesses, they can find me at michigancraftbeverage.com and send me an email and I will give personal recommendations, certainly.
There you go. And we should remind people too, where we just think of the wineries up north, but no, we have them right here in the Metro Detroit area. I mean, there's the Detroit Vineyard that's up and running as well. So you don't have to go far.
No, and Youngblood Vineyards is right up there nearer to the southeast side of the state. And then you have a little cluster right there in the Tecumseh area as well. With some really nice wineries. And so, you can pretty much go anywhere in the state of Michigan. There are nice wineries up in the UP. So, I mean, you can pretty much go anywhere and I can give you a recommendation.
I will say drinking beer it's too stressful for me now to try to pick out a beer and take someplace because it's just exploded. That whole industry has exploded. And, I don't know, there are beer snobs out there.
Yeah, well, now we also have to put seltzers into the mix, right? Right. So, it's people who are making hard kombucha. So these beverage categories just keep blossoming. I agree. It's stressful. But the good thing is that pretty much, whatever you're going to pick up, somebody's going to enjoy it. So.
Most definitely. And we do say, too, take time to take one of the tours. Whether it's the Detroit distillery or one of the vineyards, talk with them directly, the owners and the founders, because they all have such fascinating stories as to how they've gotten here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Great stories. They're artisans, they're crafters, and then ask the people who are working the tasting rooms, ask them about their favorite. If you don't know about one of the grapes that's on the bottle, ask. I mean, there are such great stories, not only behind the businesses, but also what's in the product. So definitely ask questions.
Jenelle Jagmin with us here on the Megacast, Director for the Michigan Craft Beverage Council. Anything I didn't add that you want to share before we let you go and kick off your holiday weekend?
Hey, I just appreciate the time and I appreciate being asked back. So anytime you want to talk craft beverage, let's do it.
Well, thank you. I think the next time, hopefully we can do it in person at a tasting room.
That would be wonderful.
Well, we appreciate your time. And again, we wish you the best this weekend. Hopefully the weather gets a little bit nicer the remainder of the weekend and you can get outdoors and enjoy the sunshine.
Hey, thanks, Ronnie. You too.
Thank you again. We'll take a quick break here on the Megacast. And when we come back, we are going to continue the conversation about tourism here in the state of Michigan with our good friend, Dave Lorenz. That's next here on the Megacast.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Over a decade ago, the journey to a COVID vaccine began. Building upon research on other coronaviruses, scientists continued with months of research and development. 3 phases of clinical trials with tens of thousands of diverse volunteers, then peer review and authorization to deliver a safe and effective vaccine that will protect all of us. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. Wearing a mask is more than protection. It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful. Because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I'm out of your Friday to be with us here on the Megacast. Okay, the weather's not so great outdoors right now, but it is going to get better this weekend, and it is the unofficial start to summer here in the state of Michigan. And Dave Lorenz with us now on the Megacast. And Dave, we will say summer in Michigan is by far the best season of the year.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I know I'm supposed to say I agree with you, but I'm not a summer fan. I mean, I'm okay with this temperature. I know people are saying, is this guy crazy? I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt right now. And I know by Saturday afternoon, it'll be a short sleeve shirt. And then by Sunday, I'll be in shorts. So, that's the thing about Michigan. You get to enjoy all different types of weather in our 4 seasons, and occasionally all 4 seasons in one weekend. So let's get it kicked off and enjoy it.
That is so true. All 4 seasons in one weekend. I'm sticking to home today in my pajamas.
Yeah, I did see on my app, we have a frost warning in effect for tonight in my area. So, oh my. Yeah, we're ready for warm weather. And so here's the great news. Life's coming back to normal. We can travel again. Those vaccinations are out there. And if you haven't had yours, please do, because that is the ticket to get life back and to allow us to get back to traveling, to get back to the places we've missed, the people we've missed, the experiences we've missed. It's time. And this weekend, don't put it off. If you haven't had those vaccinations, please do. And I'm no doctor, but I'm just somebody who just wants you to be able to get out there and take that darn mask off when you can. So think about it. If you haven't done it already, please.
Yeah, and with that, too, because we know that the vaccination rate really is kind of that lifeline for so many of our businesses to be able to return to normal. But, really the exciting news this week, Faster Horses is coming back. And that really is the first big concert since February 2020 here in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see live venues come back into play. We have a small, one of those listening rooms called 7 Steps Up near where I live in Spring Lake. They've started to have performances. I see the Ann Arbor Art Festival has just announced it is coming back after initially saying it wouldn't. So here's the great thing. Ionia Free Fair has just announced. I mean, these festivals and events, live venues, they've realized that we're almost at that herd immunity thing. So they feel comfortable. They have a way so we can safely open up and start to enjoy these things. I can't wait. I was earlier this week in the Bel Air area, Bel Air, Ellsworth, all that area. And I attended and took part in a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Chain of Lakes new area of paddling and such. They put together, it's basically 100-mile long chain of lakes and rivers, and Paddle Antrim put together all these signage markers so you know where to get out. There's an app available. It's just fantastic. So I was out on a kayak already, just loving it. And there's nothing like that. We get to experience these things. And that's the thing about warm weather season. Now is the time to do it.
Well, and we do know, especially over spring break, a lot of families have already started traveling. They went to Florida a lot. However, there are a lot of people still not comfortable with getting on an airplane just yet. So that really means continue to explore Michigan's backyard.
Yeah, it does. And, so I'm going to surprise you again, Ronnie. I want people to get back into planes when they feel comfortable, because traveling is good for the mind, body, and soul. And I've flown a few times this last year for work and for pleasure. And I felt very comfortable because of all the safety protocols they put into place. But we need to travel. I hope we get your fair share of the travel experience here in Michigan, because I think we deserve it. And I think we have so much to offer. But I know there are places that people want to go to they haven't been to for a while outside of the state. When you feel comfortable, get out there, travel. See places you haven't been to before. Be with people who are different than you, who look different, sound different, act different. This is the way we're going to solve some other bigger problems in society. I want people to travel and help our economy in Michigan, but I want people also to get to know that, even though we might look different, at the end of the day, we are all the same. We want a better life for our kids and our grandkids. And we have to learn that through full immersion in other communities and in other cultures. And that's the best thing about travel. It's not just about having fun. It's about experiencing life in other people and understanding that prejudice has no position in this world. Mark Twain said that travel is fatal to bigotry, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness. That's why we need to travel, as much as for the economic benefit and for the benefit that comes to us and the freedom of travel. It's so good for us. So get out there, have a good time.
I know. Now you have me wanting to book a trip. We were scheduled to go to Italy right when this happened. Yeah. But I have a friend, she's in Egypt right now. Oh, yeah. On Facebook, I'm like, okay. Well, but you do, it opens your heart and your mind.
It does.
To new things and new people. And it brings us together and it connects us.
Yeah, Italy is actually the number one travel destination in the world. So here's the interesting thing. Places like Venice, for years, the people who live in Venice have been pushing back against those huge cruise ships. And frankly, I think they had lost proper management of the travel scene there, and too many people coming at once and into a small space. So there was all this pushback, anti-tourism commentary. Now, what's happened this last year without travelers, without tourists, to communities that depend on that? Businesses have fallen apart, communities have fallen apart. And what has happened is there's a better appreciation for the travel industry. So I'm hoping that, my friends, I live in the Grand Haven area. My friends would tell me, you ruined summer here because you bring all these travelers here. And I always tell them, relax. But, because if it's only because of those travelers that communities can afford all the beautiful amenities that residents get to enjoy the rest of the year. And so now there's a better understanding of this. So for communities that are really, really busy in the summer months, for instance, and that get travelers traditionally, I hope the people there will have a more welcoming, receptive, hospitable way to truly welcome them in the future. Now that there's been a real hard-lived lesson on how important travel is for our communities.
I mean, you take it 1 year out of a business's economy and it can be devastating. Yeah. And Dave Lorenz here with us on the Megacast, Vice President for Travel Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And with that too, Dave, we are hearing some of these nightmare stories though about trying to get car rentals right now, or booking hotels or Airbnbs. So as people start to hit the road, there are going to be challenges ahead, at least for the next few months.
Yeah, in several ways. We can't get enough employees to staff our businesses. And by the way, the travel industry is not alone. Talk about, I heard Jenelle was talking about this, about agriculture as well, and all other businesses. And frankly, we need to get a hold of some of our policies to make sure that they make sense. And you look at the federal policies on unemployment benefits and mixing with state policies, they really do disincentivize people going back to work. But there are so many other reasons why people aren't going back to work. They still feel a little uncomfortable about going back because of COVID. They've been home, a lot of them on unemployment benefits, and they've been caring for their kids. And now what do? Because they also can't find childcare right now. So it just kind of goes on and on. We're on this tipping point as a society that I think policy-wise, we need to make sure that we're trying to adjust as time goes on. And we're not too fast about that. We're kind of slow, kind of behind the wheel on that one. And that's just the way we are. But as a society, we need to also figure out, okay, what are the proper work policies? How many people can work from home? How many businesses can afford to pay people more without increasing the cost of their services and products too much to the point where customers simply won't come there anymore and won't purchase those products or services? So all we're at kind of the tipping point in all these things. And so this next year is going to be very important as we figure all these things out. But in the interim, there are going to be a lot of frustrations for travelers because a lot of businesses won't be able to fully open. Restaurants will have fewer people. It's going to be longer lines. It's just the way it is. So as Jenelle and you were talking, Ronnie, and we need people to be patient, to try to be kind, to be the best of who they are, because during this pandemic, let's admit it, we have not been our best. You could say many of us have been maybe our worst. We've lost that ability to be patient, and we need to take a second and take a deep breath and just pause and understand that people are trying their best to serve our needs. So I'm hoping just as we get out there, we remember that, because a lot of times that young person who's at that front counter, they're my daughter, my son, my nephew, my niece, yours as well. And let's remember that, hey, they're our family too. So let's try to be patient and give people a break.
So with that, Dave Lorenz, Vice President, Travel Michigan. And with that, in today's day and age too, everyone has a cell phone. Yeah. Listen to music, watch a movie while you're waiting,
Well, hey, tune into the new Pure Michigan channel on Pandora, because it's got great music, mostly Michigan artists, some others just to kind of fill the gaps. You'll love it. And it's groovy.
It's groovy. See, look at that. There are ways to entertain yourself so that you don't become frustrated in these moments as we are waiting, because the lines are going to be long this year. And with that too, Dave, what about for people that are here, they live in the state of Michigan, maybe they have like a cool setup in their backyard. Airbnb is exploding right now, and not just Airbnb, there are some of the other similar ones as well. When should a person try to make that decision to rent out that additional space in their yard? Or are there certain areas that are so much more popular?
Yeah, it's hard for me to make recommendations in that regard, because the whole sharing economy business, that's also in a transition right now. We started with the Airbnbs and the Verbos and the home and aways and such, and communities are trying to figure out what the proper policies should be to make sure that we're not overrunning our neighborhoods with visitors. We created hotels to take visitors in, and now this new concept about charging people to stay in your home is kind of shaking up communities. And so I hope we'll never change our policies to disallow local communities from deciding how many of these sharing economy properties should be in a neighborhood or in a community, because it can really make adjustments to the neighborhood that are not desirable. So I'm just hoping that if people are considering this, that they check with their short-term rental committee, which likely their community has, and check into seeing how many others are in their area, because you just don't want to overwhelm a neighborhood.
That is so true. And with that too, Dave, Memorial Day weekend, it typically is the weekend so many people are taking off. We used to get a ton of people here in our community for the big Orchard Lake St. Mary's Festival. That's not happening this year. So there are fewer things going on locally. So if someone is thinking about doing some last minute travel plans, and we know gas prices are up, so maybe, it's a tank or two away. Yep. Your top places for people to visit last minute.
Just by chance, I am heading up to Michigan's Adventure later on this afternoon for a ribbon cutting of the new Snoopy Adventure Park as part of their, this is Michigan's biggest amusement park. It's in Muskegon. So they open up tomorrow. They're going to be opening up for the season. And by the way, I think they're going to be closing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays this season because they can't get enough employees. That would be a great place to consider. Any of our resorts, I mean, you can't go wrong. Our Northern Michigan resorts, they've all really come a long way. You think about it, great food, spas, golf courses, fitness facilities, places to enjoy nature. But I'd also look at some of the small, lesser known towns. Check out what we call the Sunrise side, maybe that route along 23. Tawas City, Oscoda, Alpena. If you want the little cabin type things, you can find it in the Oscoda area. Go to Alpena, do a lot of cool things like check out the lighthouses. Go find fossils at Rock Point Park. It goes on and on and on. And I know you'll enjoy it. So we always say your trip begins at michigan.org. Do a little investigation, know where you're going, and make your booking before you go this year, because you don't want to get lost out there.
Yeah, and you know what? It really is, from a parent's point of view, make it an adventure. Just like you said, what is that? Hey, we're going to see all the lighthouses. We are going to, if your family likes to golf, we're going to go to how many different golf courses. But whatever it may be, it can really add to the excitement and the fun.
Travel can be educational for both kids and for parents. Should be. I'm married to a retired teacher, so everywhere we went, it was like being in a classroom for my son and for me and many times as well. So, do that. It's a great way to enjoy a travel experience with the family. And again, we do have a kids page on michigan.org. So if you're looking for kind of like a worksheet before you go, you can find it there. Otherwise, just find cool places to go where kids are going to love it as well, because that's a big part. If your kids are having fun, you're going to have fun too.
Do you anticipate all the campgrounds are going to be packed this weekend?
It's going to be busy. Certainly, I know along the big lake fronts, almost all the campgrounds going to be pretty close to packed. And as you go closer up north, it'll be busier. I know I-75 is pretty jam-packed going north right now. So, that's another reason kind of stay closer to home if you want to, because you'll find a lot of fun things to do on the interior of the state. Remember, we have 11,000 inland lakes in this state. You're going to find a place where you can be on water. Don't worry about that. So a lot of private campgrounds in addition to all the state campgrounds. So check it out. You'll have a great time.
I will say, Dave, just another minute or two here with you on the Megacast. And I am a part of a Facebook group where they chase the Northern Lights in Upper Michigan. And I'm like, this is on my bucket list. It is on my bucket list. I'm going to see them one time.
Well, in fact, I'm going to go after Michigan's Adventure. I'm heading up to Mackinac. And one of the things we're going to do, assuming it's clear enough, and I think it will be tonight, certainly tomorrow night, we're going to go to the Headlands International Dark Sky Park, which is just to the west of Mackinac City. It's right on the tip of the mitt, right on the lakefront. And you go there at night. It's designed so very well. So like on the sidewalks, they have those little red lights that don't interfere with the optics, so you can see the stars. And I know a couple of days ago, we had the Northern Lights out. You never know, might be out there.
You are just a walking encyclopedia of Michigan's travel spots.
I'm an old guy. You tend to pick up a lot of things over time, and luckily my position does get me out there. So there's a lot to see and do, and that's the thing about Michigan. You never know what you're going to find until you get out there. So explore, meet new people, talk to people. Sometimes people are surprised to be talked to in some places. In Michigan, it's okay. Go talk to people. They'll love it on the sidewalks or in restaurants, and ask them at the local area what are the cool things to do and see. That's the way to travel.
Yep. Always ask the locals. The first thing I do when I go to a new city is I go to the local dive bar.
Yeah, I go to the restaurants. That's my scene. And especially kind of the Greasy Spoons. I love those places. Little town restaurants with homemade food. And you find really nice people there, and they'll give you ideas.
Yes, absolutely. Dave Lorenz, always great having you. We wish you a fun Memorial Day weekend as well, and safe travels to you.
Same to you, Ronnie. Thanks. Enjoy the weekend, everybody.
You too. Dave Lorenz, Vice President, Travel, Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Check out our great state. We're going to take a quick break here on the Megacast. And if you want to step closer to home this weekend, we have the place for you to do it. Go shopping and enjoy some great restaurants as well. That's next here on the Megacast.
I want to get back to seeing my grandbabies every Sunday and smothering them with big hugs and kisses.
I want to get back to football games with my boys.
I want to get back to feeling and touching, connecting with the people around me.
I want to get back to family dinners and my grandma's mac and cheese.
I want to get back to real grocery shopping, taking my time, walking down every aisle, smelling the tomatoes and melons, having a free sample or two, or 3.
COVID-19 has changed how we live and how we feel. But now, there are vaccines. And they are the first step that let us get back to feeling optimistic about the days ahead of us. It's okay to have questions.
Is it safe?
Should I get it?
Should I wait?
Now, get the facts. Learn more at getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision when vaccines are available to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Finally, I just got my COVID-19 vaccine.
I registered with my local health department and they called me.
I got mine at the pharmacy and my neighbor got hers from the hospital.
I'm not a techie person, so I called the COVID hotline and they helped me schedule an appointment.
Get vaccinated with the first vaccine you can. Protect us all.
Learn more at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine.
Here on the Megacast, I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the home studios. Mr. Tyler Kieft holding things down for us back there in West Bloomfield. As a reminder, we're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. Civic Center TV, Birmingham area municipal access. You'll find us on channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You can also listen to us on the radio if you're out driving around, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM, The Biff. Or you can live stream us. Catch us on our Facebook page today. You know, it's Memorial Day weekend, the unofficial start to summer here in the state of Michigan. And for so many of us, we associate this time with maybe taking a family trip, going up north or to the western part of the state. But it's also a great time to go shopping. And right here in our backyard, there is no better shopping than Metro Detroit. With us now, we want to bring in Anjelica Dudek. She is the marketing coordinator for the Village of Rochester Hills. Great to have you with us, Anjelica.
Hi, thanks for having me.
The Village of Rochester Hills is one of my favorite places to shop.
That's good. Thank you.
So with that, because it's a different setting, it allows you to feel like you're in like a downtown area without being in downtown, if that makes sense. It's a walkable outdoor shopping center. But I have to ask, because Memorial Day weekend is a good time to go out and bargain shop, but how is it going for so many of the stores and restaurants there when it comes to the employee shortage?
You know, most of our tenants are still looking to hire some employees for part-time, full-time shifts throughout the summer and into the fall as some of their employees go back to school. So actually on June 5th, we are hosting a hiring fair at the Village from 10 to 2. There are a variety of restaurants and retailers at the Village who have part-time and full-time opportunities to fit anyone's needs. A lot of the stores are very flexible with the hours and the benefits. So how it will work is we will have a table set up in front of the gazebo area Festival Park, and potential applicants can come in and go to our table and sign up for a potential gift card. We're doing a raffle for $50 for the village, and just to prove that they are showing proof that they are working or they're looking for work. But mostly it's you walk into the store that you want to work at. All the stores will have a manager available to do kind of like a phone interview in person. And then we usually fill out the application and get to know the people a little bit. We're really excited to have a lot of new people being hired at the village to help support the ongoing crowds. The summertime is our busiest time at the village, so we need to have the staff to support it. But there have been some people that have been working at the village for years. So I've always heard that there's great opportunity and it's a great place to work in general.
And so with that too, sometimes shoppers make the best employees because you go to that store already quite often because we tend to shop at the same stores. So some of the personnel, but you also know the product line as well. So why not go there, even if it's 1, 2, or 3 shifts a week? It can really help out some of these businesses, but it's not only a paycheck. A lot of times you get a discount as well.
Oh yeah. Yep. A lot of the stores, they offered a bunch of benefits, including discounts to their store and some of the other stores around the village.
And so when it comes to this, what is the hiring age? Junior or high school and above then?
Yep. Some of the restaurants and some of the stores are having 16 and up, but most of them are graduating age, high school age, 18 and up, 17 if they're out of high school. That was me when I was 17. So we're looking for people who are available for the summer.
Anjelica Dudek with us here on the Megacast. She's the marketing coordinator for the Village of Rochester Hills. And Anjelica, I will say too, I think every parent should make their child at least one time in their life work either retail or in the restaurant industry, because I have found in today's day and age, a lot of the kids don't know how to actually communicate and talk with people one-on-one because they're a generation of texting. And it teaches you such great skills to be able and to force you to talk with strangers.
Yeah, it definitely does. That is just one of the few benefits and job skills that you actually develop on the field, talking to people, absolute strangers, and seeing how you can work with them in terms of finding different pieces of clothing to wear, or figuring out what they can and cannot have in terms of food. It's a really good opportunity to learn a bunch of different things while getting paid for it.
Right. And, I think sometimes people kind of don't think about the skills that you can learn in some of the retail and the restaurant outlets, but they really are lifelong skills that you can take with you, because as well, it's not just about being happy and forcing you to, talk with strangers and try to connect with people, but also how to deal with the patrons that maybe aren't so happy. And those are great skills that will carry you through life.
Yep, I agree.
And so with that, Anjelica, we know that Rochester Hills isn't just a shopping center. I feel like you're more of a community as well. And as you mentioned, the summer months are your busier months, your busy season. Any big events coming up, or how are things looking?
Oh yeah, we are so busy for this next month in June. I cannot believe we're almost in June already. Starting June 4th, on Fridays and Saturdays, we will have live bands performing in our gazebo area from 6 to 8 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays from June 4th to the end of August. I think that's the 28th. There's a whole list of all the bands online on our website, on the Village's website.
Anjelica, do you find that some people are more comfortable coming to the Village to shop because of that outdoor atmosphere?
Absolutely. There have been a few stores that have seen an uptick in sales, or at least a steady route of sales, because they find some of their customers are more comfortable just navigating outside and directly into the store rather than navigating through an indoor mall.
So I remember, was that Lululemon used to do a lot of outdoor events. Are they going to be doing those this summer?
We do have our Wellness Wednesdays every Wednesday. It's scattered throughout the timing of the week, but we have a free fitness class every Wednesday. Some are in the morning, some are in the afternoon, some are in the evening, but it ranges from yoga to bar to cycling too. So we've got a really nice lineup of free classes every Wednesday. And in fact, on the 2nd, we have a walking club in the morning at 8:30 a.m. You can actually walk our Whistling Mile around the village, and we have nice little stickers to show the route. And even if it's a chilly morning, it really warms you up. It's a very easy activity to kind of wake you up in the morning.
You know, it's fun because I was going to ask you, hey, do you have mall walkers? I think a lot of people don't realize that maybe if you've never worked at a mall, people would get there like so super early and they just walk the laps of the mall, especially here in Michigan, you know, like in the winter, but it becomes a community as well.
Yeah, it does. We've had some people ask about when the next walking club is, and it's the first of every Wednesday, and that's including the free fitness class. So the walking class is something separate, but it's all on Wednesdays, Wellness Wednesdays.
So with that too, can we ask, we know that the restrictions are scheduled to be lifted here in the state of Michigan July 1st, but it's a confusing time right now, not just for us as regular people, but for businesses as well when it comes to the mask and vaccinated versus unvaccinated. What is the general consensus on how the businesses there and the village are handling this time?
You know, we are still asking our guests to wear masks when they enter inside the stores. Some of them, depends on each store, they are allowing an optional mask wear for fully vaccinated individuals. But at the village, we're always considerate of the safety and well-being of our guests while they shop and participate in our events. So outside, we're following the orders of the state of Michigan. We're going to be okay outside June 1st to have mask free. Inside, it won't be until June or July 1st, I believe. So we're just following what the state guidelines have been. And everyone's been very cooperative. So that's been really nice to see. We're all working together.
And you know, you find too, a lot of the businesses still have the mask required sign on. So with you, and you have so many different businesses, like it's really the best thing is, you know, go by the guidance, what's posted on the door, because it really is just a confusing time. And so for anyone out there, please be nice. If you just carry a mask, they're going to be with us for a while. So make sure you have one handy. And if they ask you to put a mask on, put a mask on. So have you had too many issues with that as we're coming out of the pandemic?
No, like I said, everyone's been pretty cooperative. Everyone's been very nice, as you said, with the mask rules per store. We do have signs on each store asking for masks, or, you know, saying that it's optional for fully vaccinated folks. So it depends on each store, but yeah, like you said, I would still put a mask in your bag or your pocket just in case.
So with that, Anjelica, too, if I can ask you, what's happening on the storefront? Any new stores coming or anticipated to come?
Yeah, we actually have a couple new stores open right now. We have Sundance Catalog. They're the first in Michigan. They sell women's and men's attire, accessories, art pieces, even the furniture that the clothing is on is for sale. They celebrate the Western American culture. So it's very boho chic, and it's really cool in there. It's very comfy and cozy and really, really cool in there. We also just opened Busted Bra late last month. Busted Bra is a custom sized bra boutique, bras of every occasion and pretty much every size. They go up to size N cup. Like, it fits every woman. And they are also Michigan. So that's really cool. A lot of people have been asking about our department store, Von Mars, opening in the spring still. They're doing construction right now. We're finishing up the final touches. So we're very excited about having that anchor back into the village.
Yeah, I think that's going to help a lot as well. So again, Anjelica Dudek with us here on the Megacast, marketing coordinator for the Village of Rochester Hills. We want to remind people again, they'll have a hiring really bonanza, and they're looking for employees for so many of the stores there in the village. That's going to be June 5th, you said, right?
Yep, June 5th, 10 to 2.
Well, we so appreciate your time. Anything maybe I didn't ask that you want to add?
No, we have just a plethora of events. I could just keep going on and on. If you visit the Village's website, it's thevorh.com/events. You'll see everything that's going on, and that is where you can find the latest updates on everything this summer.
Well, that's so great. You guys do such a good job over there trying to schedule a lot of different events. And so I know it's been a crazy year last year, but hopefully this year we get back to a little bit of normal and bring back some of those fun events. We'll take a quick break here on the Megacast before saying goodbye for the week.
Quitting smoking can improve your health, but it also protects your loved ones from secondhand smoke. Did you know there's no risk-free level of exposure to secondhand smoke? Smoke from cigarettes, e-cigs, and hookah can travel through ventilation systems and harm those around you. So clear the air and stop secondhand smoke. Call the Michigan Tobacco Quit Line at 1-800-784-8669. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
COVID-19 has caused many families to fall behind on finances and on groceries. But you're not alone. You shouldn't have to worry about putting food on the table. MyBridges offers access to quality food and income assistance to help families across the state get the food support they need. It's easy to apply and easy to start shopping. Apply for services at michigan.gov/MIBridges. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you, everyone, for taking time out of your week to join us on the Megacast. And always want to say appreciation to all of the guests that take time out of their days to be with us as well, to keep all of you informed. We have the holiday weekend ahead of us. And I just want to say thank you again to Tyler, Jake, and Larry. Behind the scenes, I will say Larry is the Zoom producer. He gets everyone set for the show each and every day. And I will say everyone needs a Larry if they're doing any type of Zoom, Tyler, because he makes everyone look good.
There, I must have hit another button that shut my mic off. But yes, I agree. They do. Everyone needs a Larry for their Zooms, because some people, it's just bless their hearts, but they need help.
But sometimes you'll see these interviews, these Zoom interviews, because they're still doing them with the national sports teams, and you'll see their cameras and the light. I'm just like, why? They need Larry.
Exactly, they do.
Well, it's a team effort, and they do such a great job behind the scenes and booking the show as well. So to everyone out there, please take a pause on Monday to remember those that sacrificed for us to be able to celebrate Memorial Day. Remember them as we continue on in the summer here in Michigan. We want to say thank you for being with us. This has been the Oakland County Megacast.